Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today I want to talk offensive coordinators and potential offensive coordinators for 2021 with you. But before we get started, just wanted to mention you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the podcast, new episodes every Wednesday. You can call in, leave me your question. I'll try to get to it on the show. All right, so I'm going to give you a bunch of different offensive coordinators, and I'll give you a take on them. We talked about head coaches that I'd be interested in. I've gotten a lot of people who are like, well, what about the coordinator? So we'll do offense, we'll do defense. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. And obviously, this all is dependent on who the Jets hire as the head coach. The list can be completely different based on who is hired, but I'm just giving you candidates who I think either in the NFL or whatever who can be looking to get into an offensive coordinator role. So let's get into it. My first candidate is Mike McDaniel, the 49ers run game coordinator. He is pretty much Kyle Shanahan's right-hand man at this point. He's great in run schemes. Hello, Mekhi Becton. Like, that is Mekhi Becton's strength, getting him going on the left side and getting the Jets run game to feed through that left side would be really interesting. Top 10 rushing offense the past 2 years. This is a really good mind. And supposedly a lot of people love playing for this guy. We know how much Kittle just absolutely talks him up any chance he can get. And it seems like this guy's destined to become a coordinator at some point and maybe a head coaching candidate down the line. I'm interested, and it's all about if Shanahan would be willing to let him go. I anticipate that some people off of that staff, i.e. McDaniel, i.e. Robert Saleh, are going to get head coaching gigs very, very soon. But I think McDaniel is definitely ready to make that jump to the offensive coordinator or to an offensive coordinator role. So I would not be surprised if that would be an option. The next person that I'm very interested in is Todd Monken, who is the offensive coordinator at Georgia. Georgia's averaging 31 points a game this year. I thought he being Monken, did really solid work in Tampa Bay with Jameis Winston, who's a very flawed quarterback, a turnover machine. Before struggling in Cleveland, I just think the whole Freddie Kitchens and Todd Monken beef was just not going to work. And he's went to the college route where he was in the past, and I think he can lead a very good offense in today's game. I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking to get back into the NFL. And if the Jets go with someone who's either a little bit more defensive orientated or more of a just overall coach, not an offensive specialist, then Monken could be the guy who could be the offensive specialist. Let's use Bill Cowher as the example. I'm not saying they're going to hire Bill Cowher, but let's just use that example. He's someone who can oversee everything, a true head coach, and Monken is your offensive guy, and I think that could definitely make sense. Another candidate on my list is Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans. I would have to assume that whoever is going to go in and coach that team next is going to want to bring in their own staff, and he won't be there, but I think he's done a good job with Deshaun Watson. He was their tight ends coach. Over the last 2 years, he's been the offensive coordinator, and let's be honest, Deshaun Watson, and I would argue the offense, really isn't the problem in Houston. I think that he's done well also ever since they moved on from Bill O'Brien and Romeo Crennel's been the head coach. I know this past week they had a clunker against the Bears, but overall I think Kelly is someone who can run a competent offense in the NFL. And unfortunately, if you look at Jets offensive coordinators in the past, Dowell Loggins, not great. Jeremy Bates, not great. John Morton was probably one of the better ones, and then Chan Gailey was, I thought Chan Gailey was pretty good, especially in his first year. But overall, I would not be opposed if the Jets decided to go with an offensive coordinator who has had some success in this league recently with a really good quarterback. These next two guys are going to pair together because they're both head coaches, and I think that they could potentially get another shot at a head coaching gig, and if not, then maybe an offense coordinator, and that is Matt Nagy and Doug Pederson. I have them in the same boat, and they're both no for me. I don't want either of those guys. I think they're someone who needs a year away before getting another head coaching gig, especially Pederson. And I really would not be surprised if Pederson gets fired. I think another team is going to hire him. I would not be surprised at all if he gets a head coaching gig. Nagy seems destined for an offensive coordinator job. Maybe he would go back to work with Andy Reid, assuming that Eric Bieniemy takes a head coaching job. So I could see one of, if not both of those guys going back to Kansas City to work under Andy Reid. I'm a little scared of Doug Pederson right now. I like that he's been aggressive. That's something I will give Doug Pederson credit for this. I like that he's an aggressive coach and thinks with analytics. That's really intriguing to me. But both of these guys, Nagy the last 2 years, Pederson this year, have made a lot of questionable decisions, which scares me off a little bit. So I'm going to say pass on both those guys. Next up, Joe Lombardi, the Saints quarterback coach. So he was the Saints quarterback coach from 2009 to 2013. After that, he left and took the offensive coordinator job in 14 and 15 in Detroit under Jim Caldwell. Their offense was okay. It wasn't anything great, but then he went back in 2016 through 2020 to be the quarterback coach. And not only do I think he's done a good job with Drew Brees, but I think he got a ton out of Teddy Bridgewater. And even with Taysom Hill, I think that he's done a decent job now. Like, Hill's not a quarterback in this league. He's a nice utility kind of piece who could do a whole bunch of different things, but I think he's done a really good job. And I think he's someone who's destined to get another kick at the can at the offensive coordinator spot. So I would absolutely be interested in Lombardi. He's worked under Sean Payton for a long time. I trust Sean Payton, and I think he would absolutely be someone that I would be interested in. Next up is Dave Canales. I believe that's how you say the last name. I might have got that wrong. But he's the pass game coordinator in Seattle. He's a young guy, but he has done tremendous work with Russell Wilson in that offense. He was the quarterback coach in 2018 and 2019, previous to what his job is now as the pass game coordinator. And he's a wide receiver coach, and he was the wide receiver coach from 2010 to 2017. So he's worked with a really, really good offense for a long, long time. He's worked under Pete Carroll, who knows what he's doing clearly, and obviously he has a lot of trust in him. I know he's worked under Brian Schottenheimer now. Not a big Brian Schottenheimer fan, but overall, this guy seems like someone who absolutely is worthy of a coordinator job at some point. And maybe he wouldn't leave there just yet. Maybe he's holding out hope that someone wants Schottenheimer for a head coach and that he would step up and get into that role. But I absolutely think this guy could be a coordinator. So don't be surprised if he is a name that is being tossed around for a potential coordinator in the future. The last name that I'm going to throw at you is Luke Getzy, the quarterback coach of the Packers. He's been their quarterback coach for the last 2 years. And we've really seen an improvement from Aaron Rodgers, which is like, wait, hold on, an improvement from Aaron Rodgers. Isn't he one of the best quarterbacks of the last decade? Yes, but unfortunately, Mike McCarthy didn't really do him too many favors, but the last couple of years, he's done a really, really good job. Getzy was the Mississippi State offensive coordinator in 2018 and the quality control and wide receiver coach for the Packers from 2014 to 2017. So obviously this guy's been around the league for a long time. He's been a coordinator at the college level just a couple of years ago, and I think he's someone who absolutely deserves a shot. We were getting Zach Taylor a head coaching job in this league for getting Sean McVay's coffee in the morning, essentially. So I absolutely think that Getzy, who's been a quarterback coach and in this league for a long time now in important roles and was an offensive coordinator in the college realm, could absolutely come back in and be a coordinator. So those are 8 guys that I just ran through who could potentially be coordinators. It's very tough to say, though, because each head coaching candidate's going to have a different list of guys. But if I was just looking and saying people who I would potentially be interested in, these guys outside of Pederson and Nagy are definitely people that I would say, okay, that's an interesting hire. And obviously these names could come completely out of left field because, again, each one of these coaching candidates that we're going to see in January in just a few months, and when someone gets hired, they like to bring in their own guys. So I don't know if any of these guys have a relationship with any of the head coaching candidates. It's a very buddy-buddy system in the NFL, but these people absolutely seem like either deserving of a rebound at a coordinator gig or taking that next step in their coaching career. So let me know what you think of these guys or any other potential offensive coordinator candidates in the comments below. I'm Matt O'Leary. Make sure to subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.